Hello, everybody. Big Seven here, back from a bit of a hiatus to bring you a BBL SuperCoach video. I'm recording this on the Monday night, so about 3 days before the season starts. So there could still be some additional information regarding players that I'm missing, but in the meantime, I will go through my team. So last couple of years, I've done reasonably well. Last year finished around about 980th, which was a bit of a disappointment. Decided to fade Matt Short pretty late on in the year to try and make a push for top 100, and that backfired pretty spectacularly. So 980th last year. Year before was around about 140th. Was sitting at 67th before the final round, and decided to bench Maxwell. And he decided to hit a record score in a dead rubber match. So I'm still salty about that. If you want to see how you go against one of the greatest minds to play this game, join my group. The code is 336992. And so, before I show you my side, I'll just run through quickly what has changed this year. So we're now down from a 14-game season to a 10-game season. And round one is a pretty pivotal round. There are 7 games crammed into that round. Brisbane Heat have a triple game week. The Renegade Stars, Scorchers, and Sixers all have a double. So realistically, you should be picking 11 players on field that at least have a double, ideally a triple, but options are somewhat limited for those Heat players. And then on the bench, you don't actually want to pick more doubles. You want to pick players that have a future double. So we've got the Strikers that have a double in week 2, the Thunder in week 4, and worst case scenario, if you wanted to pick a Hurricanes player, they've got the double in week 7. So the reduction in rounds, it also means there's only 2 trade boosts this year. Looking at the fixtures, I think the most ideal time would be to use one of them going from round 5 to round 6. Perth coming off 2 buys and then going into 2 doubles. So you don't want to hold Perth players during that period, but you want them for the round 6, round 7 doubles. And there are a number of quality players from Perth. You know, you've got your Berendorf, Jai Richardson, Andrew Ty, Inglis, Hardy, a number of really quality players that you want for that round 6 and round 7 double. And then in round 7, we've also, in addition to the Scorchers having the double, there is also Hobart and Brisbane. So those two, round 6 and round 7, look the best times to use the double. And so with that being in mind, we want to set our team up. So we've got 11 doubles in the first round and, benching those Strikers and Thunder players for future doubles so that we don't have to boost. All right, so I'll go into the side. I'm going to scroll down to the bowlers real fast. Did I hide them? Yeah, I think I did that well enough. Okay, so I think when I'm building a side, I want to start from the bowlers first. They are what I think are the nucleus of the side. If you're comparing the prices and the averages of the batters compared to the bowlers, you have some pure bowlers that are, you've got, like Jai Richardson, who's 250k and all he does is bowl. Whereas if you're comparing that to a pure batter, I think the most expensive one is Quinton de Kock at 180k, and he didn't even play last year. He's an international. So I think, bowlers all-rounders tend to score the most points if they're batting and bowling. But then after that, you've got bowlers that will generally outscore batters, and batters are kind of your lower grade citizens. So with that in mind, I would prefer to put all-rounders in the batting spots, and then your pure bowlers to fill up the bowling lineup. So I'll start with the Brisbane Heat. I've only got Wildermuth at the moment. I think there's a number of options you can go for in here. But they all have some, apart from Kuhneman, who's about 105k, I think they've all got some pretty reasonable question marks. The three that I expect to open the season in terms of quicks alongside Wildermuth are um, Spencer Johnson and Bartlett alongside Wildermuth. So those are the three. I think all of them have some degree of risk. Johnson, 125k, he's clearly the best in my opinion, but he's also coming off limited preparation. So with 3 games in a relatively short period, I think there's a reasonable chance that he gets rested for one of those. And then you've got Bartlett and Wildermuth. If Spencer Johnson wasn't to get rested, I could see one of them getting dropped. There are a number of Brisbane Heat players that are going to be unavailable due to being in the PM11. One of those is Michael Neser. He comes back into the side, and I think it's at the expense of Wildermuth or Bartlett or Spencer Johnson if he gets rested. And so it's really just gambling which one you want to go with. I've decided to go for Wildermuth. I think he's the cheapest one. He is the cheapest pace bowler. Kuhneman's definitely an option. And look, if he only plays 2 games at 91k, it's not the end of the world. And I think he's fairly comparable to Bartlett in terms of output. So prefer him over Bartlett. Spencer Johnson, I think the risk is too high that he gets rested or maybe doesn't perform off limited preparation. Kuhneman, solid option at 105k as well. Just elected to go a bit risky with Wildermuth. So the other pure bowlers, the Stars, nothing that really appealed to me, even though they have the double. I think Coulter Nile is an okay pod at 170k, but none of those Stars bowlers that are playing, I don't think have any long-term job security. You've got Harris Ralph, who will come and play in the BBL at some stage, you would expect. Usama Mir, I'm not sure about his availability or what his output's going to be like. And Mark Steckity, who I actually think is the best of the bunch, he's going to be playing PM11. So didn't like any Stars. But with the Stars and the Renegades having, double in round 1 and doubles in round 3, I wanted to pick at least 4 of them. And that was a bit of a tough task because I think, for both sides, there's a number of players that have some reasonable question marks on them. The reason I wanted 4 is from round 2 to round 3, I wanted to bring in another 3, which would bring me up to 7 players for that double. But I think Steckity is probably one of those that I would want to bring in. And there's a few others. There's so many Renegades bowlers that you could choose from. You could also bring in Coulter Nile and also some batters. So I wanted to start with 4 from that double. The 2 I've settled on are Tom Rogers and Zampa. Admittedly, Tom Rogers is probably the player that moves out of my side if I need some cash, because I think Kane Richardson is also a decent option. I preferred Tom Rogers just at the moment, mainly because he's a relative pod. He's put up back-to-back seasons of good numbers. Has been a little bit expensive in the practice matches, but I don't pay too much attention to those, to be honest. So I think, he's someone that could be a really nice point of difference at the start of the year. I'm certain that I'm going to want him for round 3 anyway, so I decided to start him for now. Kane Richardson, he's another solid option, 140-ish K. He's the one I go down to if I need cash from Rogers. Say if Wildermuth doesn't get named and I go to a Kuhneman instead, I would probably use that Tom Rogers money and downgrade to Kane. I think Kane's a good option. Just a little bit concerned. He was battling with a glute injury over in India. I still think he's fine though. The other one is Adam Zampa, who moves across from the Stars to the Renegades. He's been pretty good in recent times, more specifically at the ODI World Cup. And yeah, 131K, and it's not a complete bargain, but I think it's a little bit undervalued. And going across from the Stars, who didn't rate their team at all, to a Renegade side that looks to have at least a competition average bowling attack, that should help Zampa out a bit. And then the two players that I've gone for that aren't from the Renegades or the Stars or the Heat, I've gone for Richardson and Ty. Richardson, I think, is an absolute lock for a couple of reasons. One, you're going to want to use the vice captaincy on a Brisbane Heat player. But I think in the case of vice captaining a Brisbane Heat player, you actually get to see what they do against the Stars and what they do against the Strikers before you elect to take their score. So if for some reason your Heat vice captain flops, I think Jai Richardson is the clear captaincy option. And the second reason I think he's essential is looking at round 2. The only side on a double is the Adelaide Strikers, and I think your captaincy option for that round has to be Matt Short. And Richardson and Short being in the only two in that similar price bracket means that you can sideways Richardson to Short for one trade without having to completely reshuffle your side and try and find funds to be able to afford Short. And yeah, the other one I've gone for is Andrew Ty. I think there's a number of different options you can go for here. I think Behrendorff, who's a little bit cheaper and who I think is the better bowler, he's an option as well. I guess the reason I prefer Ty over Behrendorff is that Behrendorff bowls more of the start and the middle of the innings, so he has to work a bit harder for his wickets, whereas Andrew Ty can bowl the 18th and 20th over, bowl some full tosses and get players caught out in the deep, score points really easily, and sometimes it's not about how good the player it is. Sometimes it's about how easy they can score. So I've gone for Ty. I think Sean Abbott's a consideration. Tom Curran, he's another one you could consider, although I'm a little bit concerned about his lack of preparation. Dorshus could be a real sneaky pod. But yeah, outside of those players, I don't think I would go for anyone else. And then on the bench, I've gone for David Payne. It's an expensive bench hold, but looking at the Adelaide Strikers double next week, I think that there's a number of players that you could go for, but they're all quite pricey. So the way I saw it, if I wanted to start a Strikers player, it would either be Darcy Short, who's very cheap at 68K, but his appeal is pretty much diminished because he doesn't bowl, or he shouldn't be bowling. And although he might bat at the top of the order or close to it, he doesn't score runs fast enough. And to be honest, I think he's pretty washed. At 33 years old, I don't know, he would have to somehow recapture his form from a couple of years ago to be a great pick. So with me not picking Darcy Short, who are the strikers that I wanted to pick for next round? Matt Short, obviously. David Payne, I think, is a lock. 10 wickets and 6 games for the Scorchers last year. But yeah, other players that are considerations, Wes Agar, Henry Thornton, both expensive. Jamie Overton, not sure what his role is going to look like. So maybe I think I'd prefer just to see that game first to see how he's utilised. James Bazley, who moves across from the Heat, can bat and can bowl. I think there's a bit of concern about his fitness. And again, he's pretty expensive. And Chris Lynn, who's a batter only and 155K. So I settled on Payne, which means that my batting line is in a little bit of pain due to a lack of funds, but I think I can manage that and maybe take a little bit of a hit this week to take a big boost next week. The other bowler I've got on the bench, Tanvir Sangha, I forgot how many wickets he had. I had it up before. Yeah, 2020 he had 21 wickets in a full season. 21 he had 15. Didn't play last year due to injury, and now he comes in at a 83k price point, just very much undervalued. Someone I'm happy to stash on the bench or even play until the Thunder have their double. We'll go into the batting and wicketkeeper line now. And yeah, so the Brisbane Heat players I've gone for Billings, Munro, and Walter. Billings and Munro will bat near the top of the order. I think Munro likely to be opening or at 3 and Billings at 4. I wouldn't say I have a huge amount of faith in them, but with a triple, I just don't think you can go completely without Brisbane Heat batters. And they also play the Stars in the first game, which should be a fairly good matchup. So I couldn't go without those two. The other one I've gone for is Paul Walter. He scares me a little bit. I've got him profiled pretty similar to Dan Christian, but he's English, so that obviously means that he's worse. So we could have 3 games where he only bowls a couple of overs. I expect him to bat probably, 5 or 6, hopefully coming in when the Heat take the surge. He is a batter that is capable of scoring runs quickly, and he can take wickets as well. So, he's capable of going 10 in the game or 70. So you're hoping over the course of 3 games he manages to find that 70 to 100 in one of them, and that should be enough to be a good player on field at 105k. And then, so Renegades and Stars, I needed to pick 2 players there. Glenn Maxwell is a lock. Going to bat at 3, probably going to bowl his full complement of overs or close to it. Don't overthink it. You get the discount because he had a broken leg. Now he's just absolutely locked. And the other one I've gone for is Joe Clark. He moves across from the Stars to the Renegades. He has been, in the past, someone that scores well at Marvel Stadium. And he's someone that I'm definitely going to want for that round 3 double regardless. So happy to start him at 140k. Maybe a little bit overpriced for a batsman only, but we'll deal with that. And then the last player, he's a bit of a pod, Ashton Turner. I think he's going under the radar. Ashton Agar, who would have been the Scorchers' main spinner option, is injured at the moment. So I think in terms of the Scorchers' bowling attack, they go Behrendorff, Richardson, Ty, and probably Matt Kelly. And then in terms of getting that 5th over production, I think Connolly gets a few overs. I think Turner gets a few, and maybe Hardy gets 1. But also Matt Kelly might not get his full complement of overs. So I think there's upside for Turner in terms of bowling output, but also in terms of batting output with Mitch Marsh out of the side. I think he'll bat at 4. He's someone that is capable of scoring at a fast rate and can be used in that finisher role or someone that can come in and dominate a surge. And then we go onto the bench. I've got McDermott. He's kind of a long-term hold. Week 7 double. I don't think he's essential by any means. 88k, he has had some seasons in the past where he's been absolutely dominant. And so I'm hoping that he can recapture that form. And by the time it does get to his double, he might be 130, 140k that people have to shell out for. And then, yeah, I've got Sam Whiteman. Don't really care if he plays or not. 62K, a wicketkeeper donut. He is the cheapest non-playing wicketkeeper. The only player that is in his price range is Harry Nielsen from the Strikers, who will have a double next week. But he's going to bat at 7 or 8. I have no confidence fielding him, and if I don't want to field him during a double, what's the point of having him? Last player is Nikhil Chowdhury, 42K bat bowling donut. He's the only player at 42K that has a donut. The only player at 42K that has batting and bowling DPP. So that's a pretty straightforward pick for me. And yeah, so that's the full side. Billings is the wicket keeper. Munro, Joe Clark, Maxwell, Turner, Walter as on the batting line. 5 pure bowlers at the bowling position: Richardson, Ty, Rogers, Zampa, and Wildermuth. Holding Payne and Sanger on the bench for future doubles, and then hoping McDermott can recapture some form, and Chowdhury and Whiteman as donuts. It is a few days out from the season, so it is possible that my team changes around. Let me know what you're planning on starting in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and I will be back at the end of the first round to recap how the week's gone and go through the Strikers players I want to add to my side. So once again, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you for the next video.